Art and creating have been scientifically proven to change neural pathways, therefore it is beneficial for our general well-being. But what if the images we choose to create are not random? What if it goes deeper than just benefiting our well-being? When you hear art and shamanism, channeling through paintings, etc., you might imagine these spiritual creative practices like painting your angels or maybe your soulmate. But artistic shamanism is actually far more practical and grounded in daily life than you might think. It's simple and in many ways, it's logical. I have always believed that every single person on planet Earth is a psychic, whether we realize it or not. The gut is responding to our own learned experiences from the past. The more we have experienced something, the more we notice things around us, the more perceptive we are. But it goes deeper than that. Before we connect art to shamanism and channeling, we need to understand the unconscious mind. When we say unconscious, we simply mean something we are not aware of. But if we are not aware of something, that doesn't mean it isn't there. It is just beyond our conscious awareness. However, most of our behavior is actually governed by the unconscious. So what exactly is it? Nobody really knows. Nobody knows how deep it goes or where it ends. So anything we consider spiritual can potentially be the unconscious. Society often defines spirituality as something beyond the visible world, something behind a veil. And I believe the unconscious and the veil may actually be connected. It has been known that the human being can access information from the unconscious or beyond our physical awareness, from the spiritual or spirit. Take near-death experiences, dreams, out-of-body experiences, astral projection, synchronicities, etc. But there is one way we can actually access the unconscious on a daily basis, and that is the flow state. You see, the flow state is literally when we collapse time. Just think of the moments when you were in the flow and you forgot what was happening around you and you were just existing, here and now. There's no past or future, just present. In this state, the analytical mind quiets down and something else comes through: intuition, insight, feeling, information that wasn't available before. So when we are enjoying ourselves with whatever activity we choose, like dancing, singing, painting, drawing, we are now in the flow state, which is incredibly healing for the human psyche. As our soul literally speaks to us through passion and joy, which are both governed by the flow state, so when we are enjoying ourselves, we are one with the soul. Accessing the flow state is literally touching the source. We transcend the laws of this physical plane and become one with the source. So we can say that the flow state is spiritual for this exact reason. So like this, our psyche becomes open. We can then access crucial information which can actually help with our lives. Information we needed, intuitive nudges, answers to our problems, etc. And also access information from the future, as we literally are collapsing time. So we can paint something precognitive. Yes, that's 100% possible. I will now explain what precognitive actually means, as that has more to do with the whole idea of being psychic, spirituality, art and shamans, etc. Remember how we talked about that the unconscious is beyond our awareness, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So precognition is the same thing. If you happen to paint something from the future, have a vision, dream or intuitive nudge, that means that that information had already existed. That is why it feels like future event you couldn't have possibly known about. And that is the whole idea, actually. It is still mystical, still spiritual. However, we all have access to the spiritual and to the unconscious. All the information here has already existed and will exist and exists. So the energies from the future are basically available to us right now. Another way how to bypass time and access the unconscious are dream states, which are also related to art, as it is literally the world of imagery. You might dream about going somewhere, wake up with a strong feeling, and then act on it. Your psyche only got to the state that it picked up on your desire from the future and you happened to act on it. That desire was there all along and it always will be. However, you just weren't aware of it before you had the dream. It appears mystical when you get it, and it might seem you get it from the future, but your psyche only picked up on your actual desire, which is always available to us before we even realize it. And you can say, this is not spiritual, you could have had that desire all along, and you just dreamt about it because you wanted to do it. And yes, that is exactly what it's all about. It's that simple. We humans have natural desires, drives. However, some of those are suppressed, and you can find them in the unconscious, and the unconscious is actually spiritual. You can find there our true life path, basically what we all are before the world programmed us. So basically, our authenticity is stored in the unconscious before we gain access to it. So now, we don't actually need to access the flow state in order to access information from our unconscious. It is happening every day, very spontaneously. We can consciously engage with the images or intuitive nudges we get, the visions, etc. Because often, when we are drawn to a certain image or a symbol or have a desire, that itself is already a manifestation of our unconscious mind wanting to speak to us. So if you have a certain image that has been lingering in your mind or you dreamt about it, don't be afraid to explore what it means for you, or even paint it or draw it. And when you are in the flow, pay attention to the information you receive. Also, when you have a strong desire to create an image, chances are that the energies mean something important, even the direction that you need to take in your life. So any image you receive has the potential to be precognitive, has the potential to change your life, has the potential to be psychic. For example, see this painting of a jellyfish. I just chose to paint this out of curiosity and desire. I didn't think of anything more of it, as it is literally a water theme for my auction group. But as the painting started to take form, I realized something. Jellyfish don't control where they go, they move with the current. So the meaning of jellyfish is simply to go with the flow and not to push against the current. And in my life recently, I was trying to make everything happen by sheer force. Even my art became very well planned with structure, but there was no surrender, no natural flow. So I realized that this jellyfish came into my life when I needed her the most, to teach me to surrender a little bit more, to introduce more flow into my life. She's literally merged with a woman, symbolizing that we need to control certain parts of reality and not be completely passive, but there are certain things that we simply need to leave be. And now I can take full advantage of the image I chose to paint, because without even knowing it, the energy of the jellyfish is now very important in my life. You can go even deeper and engage with your trauma as well, and use art for intentional healing. When we speak, we cannot possibly describe everything that we have experienced. It would be an understatement. Words compress reality. Even when we experience something, our brain stores it as images, and our body as sensations, feelings, emotions. So basically, we see before we speak. And words are just labels that we have assigned to objects. So then, we store memories as images, and some experiences are painful. We would rather not see them again. So our brain and body stores them in the unconscious as sensations and images. Although we don't want to think about it again, it is there. But it hasn't disappeared, so it shows in reality in form of images and symbols, sometimes without us even knowing what they mean. So now I have explained all the ways that art is actually a spiritual practice. Artists are working naturally with symbols, and even if we don't really know why we choose to paint something, it can have a crucial meaning in our lives. The images we dream about, the symbols that linger in our minds, are not random, and if we choose to consciously work with the imagery in our minds, we have the power to literally move energy and talk to our unconscious mind. And we don't even need to be spiritual or talented or psychic. All we need to do is reflect and be willing to go deeper. Spirituality is available to every single one of us. Art itself is already a spiritual practice. It touches upon the divine. It makes us remember who we truly are as souls.